LandCruiser 300 series. Now we have live tuned heaps, actually, quite a few. Since late 2021, we started developing this package, which includes obviously the UNI-X E.C.U. So we fit this aftermarket computer and its injector driver to your LandCruiser 300 series. We would put the vehicle on the dyno, and while we're driving the vehicle under load on the dyno, we're modifying all the engine tune parameters, which Robbie's going to get to into this video as well. In doing that, we gain roughly, they go from 165 to about 210 kilowatts across all four wheels, which turns out to be about 280 horsepower across all four wheels. If we're going to talk horsepower, we can also set it up with what's called a map select switch. So you can have 5 different tunes, so power, towing, economy, 4x4, standard, high idle, whatever the case may be, we do it, and you can select it on the fly with this map select switch here, which has been available since the dawn of time with the Unichip stuff. The major point is there's no electronic footprint. So we don't need to remove your E.C.U. We don't need to put it on the bench. We don't need to flash tune it. We don't need to do any of that nonsense. And you get a better tune because we're not guesstimating why the computer's sitting on the bench going, it needs a little bit more fuel here. We're driving it under load on the dyno and going, okay, we'll add some fuel to it. We'll take some boost out of it. We'll add some injector timing here. So you get a better tune, as in it's live tuned. There's no guesstimation and there's no electronic footprint, which means the dealer can still update, modify, do whatever they need to do to the factory computer. They don't know it's there. Anyway, if you are interested at all, please do myself a favor, watch this video. Because as soon as people jump in any of the LC300s that have been tuned with the Unichip, they come in the door and they want to get it done. Now I have it on a special price at the moment. Link below, have a look, have a read, have a watch. We've been around since the dawn of time. This is nothing new for us, it's just a new car. Anyway, I hope you enjoy.
Okay, so Unichip is an additional supplementary computer. Allows us to tune any fuel injected vehicle, whether it be petrol, diesel, LPG, whatever. It's been around since the 90s. I've been involved with it since then. It basically is an add-on module. You can do 5 different tunes. So you're not locked in the, like a tow tune or a safe tune or a power tune. Where you at the flick of a switch while you're driving, you can switch between 5 different tunes, whether it be power, towing, economy, bit of 4x4, which have all got different strategies built in. And you can change that on the fly. So that makes it really universal. You can't achieve that many other ways. So that basically allows you to cater for all conditions that you might encounter while you're driving, whether you just want to have a bit of a go from the lights or you're towing van on the weekends. You can have a tune to suit every occasion if you like. The new things about the 300 series is the turbo arrangement, being a twin turbo vehicle, and they're what you call a sequential turbo, so both turbos don't work at once. They basically run a little turbo for below sort of 2,500 RPM, and then it switches over to a bigger turbo at the higher RPM. Hence why you can see the dip in those graphs, and that's basically where it changes over. So there's lots of flaps and controls. So basically there's a flap closing off the exhaust gas, if you like, to the bigger turbo, and everything takes time for it to open and for that second turbo to start spinning and build some boost up, and that's why you see that dip in the graph. It did offer a bit of a challenge as far as tuning wise, just getting our head around it, what it liked, what it didn't like, how we can affect that dip in the graph between the changeover between the smaller and larger turbo. So that's been quite challenging, getting a good idea on how Toyota make these things work, if you like.
I just wanted to say thanks for giving me 5 minutes of your time so we can go on this drive.
Well, I'll get out of it in 5 minutes, do I?
Well, what I'm trying to do here is not point out an obvious flaw with a car, just pointing out a way of detecting it so people can understand what we're talking about when we say the crossover point between the primary and the secondary turbo. There's been a few manufacturers have a go at the sequential turbo thing over the years, and they could never transition properly from primary to secondary. You've got to close the primary and open the secondary and do all that. Nearly always diaphragm controlled, so there's this massive void from one bleeding off to the next one coming on. And in drive, you probably won't feel it that much. I can feel it, only because I'm a bit, gee, it's less than ideal. If I had that car, I wouldn't be that happy with it, but there's going to be 300 series owners go, he doesn't know what he's talking about, they're smooth as silk. So I'm not here to produce an argument, I'm here to point out that, you know, things less than ideal, and the best way to feel the dip is drive it in manual mode, part throttle, bring it up just over 2,000 RPM, and oh, there we go. And all that is I brought it up. It's about to open the second turbo and then ease off a little bit, so it's, oh, hang on, he doesn't want the second turbo, and it's closed and open, closed and open. I'm holding a steady throttle and it's right in that point. The way these cars accelerate, they've got 10 gears to play with. They just rip through the gears. I'm talking full throttle here. And you're above that dip. And the way the gearing is, it keeps it above that, keeps it on that side of the dip, and you don't really feel it. You only feel it if you hit the throttle and you're below it, you'll drive through the dip and out the other side. The difficulty we had was trying to smoothen that out. The standard dip is 37, 38, 39 kilowatts of fall. So it falls 37 or 8, 9 kilowatts and then climbs back out of it. And that's a fair old trough. That's a big drop in power and torque at that point. So to try and blend that out and tune that out so that we've got a 20 kilowatt dip. So it's still a dip, there's always going to be a dip. But we're trying to minimise that dip. Yeah, look, I mean, unless, you know, most of the time you're probably driving through that point. And with the 10-speed transmission, is going to hide a lot of that dip, if you like. Transitions from the small turbo to the big turbo. But certainly, obviously, on the dyno, it shows up quite obviously. I think driving it, as you said, you don't notice it very much unless you're really looking out for it and you hold it right at that changeover point. Most people wouldn't even realise it's happening or going on unless you're really looking out for it.
Rob gave a really nice explanation of the primary secondary turbo and how it works, and there's a flap arrangement, a diaphragm control, and you know we're fighting with a mechanical setup, so the size of that diaphragm and how quick it responds and all those sort of things. We've got control of all that stuff, but there's a fair bit of mechanical stuff happening there that does take time. Rob thought that you could hardly feel it on the road, and in some, depending on how you drive it, you can hardly feel it. But you can also, depending on, how you drive, and I don't know how everyone drives, you can hover right on that spot, and it is very noticeable. So it was really important for me in the R&D. Obviously we're not going to be able to get rid of it completely, but we'll smooth all those bumps out of it. That's what we're trying to achieve, just so it's not as glaringly obvious as what it is factory. I know everyone's, oh, I can't feel it, they're beautiful cars. I get it. They are a great car, but they've still got their flaws. Don't feel bad if you bought one because you didn't make it. You just bought it.
So we're halfway through the tuning. So I've kind of tried to condense it so you get a bit of an idea. A lot of information into a very short video. So this is Rob really sinking his teeth into it. He's actually making sense of it and really trying to close that dip up and make it not as apparent. So we can see that in the dyno graph. So I'll throw some videos up of him on the dyno. This is sort of, midway through. So have a look and we'll get stuck into it and follow the boys.
Trying to get rid of the dips.
Sorry?
Trying to play around with the dips in it.
Is it working?
Yeah.
It looks better.
Yeah, better than
first one.
It's not just stock LC300s that we see. In fact, you know, for the most part, I doubt very many of them that are going to come through the shop are going to have, you know, factory airbox and factory snorkels and things like that. Majority of them are going to be modified. If you judge 200 series or even the Y62 Nissan Patrol, people are going to use these for four-wheel driving. They're going to bolt everything to it. So, yeah, I wanted to touch base on the differences between a factory one and, you know, the setup that we've developed for it versus one that does have, you know, a snorkel and an airbox. So I grabbed the details off this customer's one that we were in the middle of doing as well. I just thought I'd throw some information because surely people are going to ask these questions.
Yeah, look, I mean, it is a little bit more difficult. It took a little bit more time to just get our tuning strategy around this twin turbo setup, especially with airflow characteristics and limits, if you like. I mean, obviously with this car, we've never done one before. We've done all our development on a dead stock car, as we always like to do. Whereas this thing's got an aftermarket airbox and a, you know, rear-facing snorkel. It just brought a whole new level of problems. It was quite amazing. I mean, the dips just kept coming and coming and coming, and they wouldn't go away. So we had to, you know, I've just spent the whole morning doing a tuning strategy for this particular vehicle, and I guess that's the whole idea of the Unichip. We can custom tune to suit your mods, and I think what the 300 has shown is these mods, which are quite common mods, are really going to have an effect on your overall power and your overall drivability. Like I said, it's required a totally different tuning strategy than it did with the standard airbox. See here, this is just a graph of what I was explaining earlier about the airflow through the airflow meter not being happy. This is what happened when we just fitted the tune basically out of our own vehicle into this one, which has a modified airbox and snorkel. And you can see we've got the dip that happens as it changes over to the bigger turbo, and then it just got all these other big dips where it was obviously not happy with the amount of airflow through the airflow meter, and it was doing some crazy things with boost. So obviously that's what we have to spend some time on to get around that and tune this vehicle to suit the airflow demands with this air cleaner and snorkel package. And that's the thing, there'll be different brands of airboxes and different brands of snorkels. Everyone's got their own idea on what works and what doesn't. So, you know, these are going to need a bit of fine tuning at the end, you know, when you're getting this fitted up. Okay, so as we can see here, our red line is our standard power, or our before power, which on this vehicle was, you know, just below 150 kilowatts.
That's ours made 165, so it is a little bit lower, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why we tune every vehicle live on the dyno, and it's just not one size fits all. That's why we custom tune to suit every vehicle. Yeah, so you can see the 150. You can see there's that dip in the power, and that's basically where it transitions from the small turbo to the big turbo. Got our torque along this side, so you can see it made around 450 newton meters of torque. And here we have our different tunes. So blue is our power tune. You can see it made 198.4, call it 200 kilowatts, and 590 newton meters. Obviously down low we've picked up a good 50-60 newton meters as well. The dip in the changeover points considerably less. You can see how long it took in the standard power. We've managed to reduce it. We'll never be able to get rid of it completely because it is just a mechanical thing. It's not a tuning element. Obviously there's mechanical properties going on. And then yeah, you can see then we have our tow tune, an eco tune, all just make a bit less power, a bit less torque. Obviously safer AFRs for towing and economy, and obviously different throttle strategies. And yeah, all that with the safety of water temperature and protection in the background. So I think it's come up quite well.
All right, so final takeaway from this video. I guess it goes to show, do you need a snorkel and an airbox? The answer is no. It produces more power with a factory airbox. Having said that, if you are going to go four-wheel driving, you're going to go through river crossings and you plan on sinking your car, absolutely buy a snorkel, buy an airbox and get it tuned to suit. Thanks for watching the video. If you've got any more questions, please inbox me, look me up at LC300_Aussie. That's the Instagram page. Comment here, find me at work, do whatever you need to do. I want to answer your questions. If you've got little tips or tricks or anything like that, if you need to see anything with the interior at all, ask me, I'll film it, I'll put it up, because I know a lot of people are waiting on these LC300s and they're just watching everything that, you know, comes out on YouTube. I want to help. So if you've got any questions at all, please hit me up. And if I can, I'll film it and I'll let you know. All right. Thanks for watching. Remember, like, subscribe, share. It does me a huge favor and it keeps on pushing me to make more content like this for you guys. Appreciate it. Cheers.